welcome to another episode of Talking Wild, where we're going to be discussing one of my favourite animals here at Jimmy's Farm and Wildlife Park, and that is the majestic Arctic wolves. I'm joined by Mae and James, who look after these beautiful animals. They're very, very special, and they sit alongside our Arctic foxes and our polar bears and our red-breasted geese and reindeer as part of the tundra.
Yep.
This amazing wilderness. I suppose it's the last of the great wildernesses out there. Everyone talks about the Amazon rainforest, but the tundra, that permafrost, is the last great wilderness, which is disappearing. But these wolves play a very special role in that environment. And the thing that really stands out about them is they're white. Beautiful. Incredible. How many have we got?
So we've got 10 at the minute. And that ranges from 4 boys and 6 girls. And all sorts of ranges of ages in there as well. We've got Nev, our pup from not last year, the year before now, wasn't it? Cool.
Yeah.
God, I remember him coming in like that, didn't he?
I know, tiny. Yeah, he was tiny. He's a big boy now.
Big ones
Yeah,
now.
bless him.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've got old lady Luna. She's the oldest. She's 12.
Yeah.
So she's the oldest, bless her heart.
But they were lovely pack.
They're
weren't they?
amazing.
But the interesting thing about them is that they are an entire pack.
Yeah.
Where a lot of wolves that you see in collections might be 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
But they are a proper pack, and there's a dynamics to that.
Yeah.
So how does the pack work?
It's quite a complicated dynamic, I'd say. I think everyone in the pack has different roles to play. So you've got the alpha pair, so that's Poppy and Fenrir. When we first got them, it was Aurora and Rocco, but they've had a few a litter now. So they had Nev's theirs, and then Poppy and Fenrir are the younger. They're fitter. They pushed them off top spot.
Right. A few episodes of EastEnders happened in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not as simple as that.
It's quite Machiavellian. It's quite like when we talk about the Roman Empire, and there's lots of murder happening and
we don't get quite a lot of
underhandedness.
murder
No,
in our
don't get
pack.
that. But people are knocked off their throne, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they are.
Oh, yeah.
They are,
Yeah.
and it's just...
And they're not nice about it.
No.
They're not.
Survival of the fittest, really.
Is it like snakes and ladders? Because you're up the top and then all of a sudden you go down a snake.
Yeah, I
They're
mean...
at the bottom of the pile.
Pretty much. It depends on the season as well. So we've just just come into breeding season. So Fenrir is being a bit mean to Rocco.
Yeah.
Because Rocco's his biggest competition. Because Rocco is the old alpha. But we've, like I said, they've all got different jobs in the pack. So the alphas, they're the bosses. Poppy especially.
And they're the breeding pair.
They're
as
the breeding
well.
pair.
Right.
So they're the ones that had last year's pups that have now gone off to...
And interestingly, nobody else is allowed to breed.
No.
Except for these two.
And if they do, they get in trouble.
They get in trouble. And so when you
trouble.
see a group of wolves, you think, there must be loads of mums having... No, it's just the top pair
dog.
that
Very
breed.
strict hierarchy.
Very strict hierarchy. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you first look at the pack and you'll see the ones at the lower levels seem to have a hard time of it. And it's really difficult because when you have dogs at home, you go, why can't they all get on and just be friends? But there's a really important aspect to it in the wild because it's about making sure the fittest are breeding and in control because they want their babies to be the fittest
Have the
because
best genetics.
where they live is really tough
Yeah.
and there's no room for weaklings, no room for or no prizes for second best.
No.
You've got to be as fit as a fiddle. So
Yeah.
if you are the toughest, you're at the top, and that means then the next generation are going to carry on with that genetics.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, and they're not just from within their own ranks as well. You've got to think about other ranks of wolves out there as well. And you've got to be able to protect your own
fight.
Yeah, this is it. So
because you're all fighting for the same small resources, so you come across another pack of Arctic wolves. Yeah. So we understand about the dynamics of the pack, and it fluctuates. It can be peaks and troughs, can be quite violent, all that kind of stuff. How do you deal with that in captivity? Because you don't fight all the time. How do you deal with the dynamics of pack life?
you put them in a headlock.
That's right. James swings in on a rope.
To be honest, there's not a great deal that we as keepers can do about it. We can change the food that we give them. We can. We're really lucky here. I think we've done it really well with our enclosure for our wolves. That they've got a lot of
We've
space.
got the space.
I was
to
just
provide.
about to say,
They've got
so
so much
space
space.
is key
Yeah.
to maintaining the health
Yeah.
of a pack, because
Yeah.
if you've got a small enclosure and you
They're
want,
going to be on top of each other.
they're on top of each other,
Yeah.
and the smaller, I suppose the lower rank animals need to be get away, get out
Yeah.
of trouble.
And they need places to hide as well.
Yeah, this year you've created some hides out there, haven't you, as well? So
My DIY.
Yeah, but that's how you
But,
handle
yeah,
it. And
it's-
so I
Yeah.
think to mimic the natural environment,
Yeah.
give them as much space, allows us to actually maintain a healthy pack.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and not forgetting, I mean, in terms of other wolf packs, you know, the Arctic wolves, an average pack size for them is around about 8. That's not many.
No.
So you know, we were 15 at one point, weren't
Yeah.
we? So
There's a lot.
that was causing a lot of
Issues.
issues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So are we the largest pack in the UK then when it comes
of
to
Arctic wolves, yeah, we are. Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
quite a thing, isn't it?
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And
Yeah.
I sit down there sometimes, and particularly towards the evening when everyone's gone home and they start to sing,
Yeah, it's lovely.
and it's incredible because there's something strange about wolves that it's hardwired into us, and it's a pleasure to listen to, but it does tap into an ancient fear.
Yeah, eerie.
Eerie,
It is
because
scary.
I suppose in medieval times they would have been not Arctic wolves, but
Yeah.
wolves would have been a competition to us.
Yeah,
Would
but
have
the
taken our
threat.
livestock. Would have been a threat to our health, a danger. So that's built into us.
Yeah.
But their cries, their songs, it hangs through the wood, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so cool when they do it, especially when they're in the woodland paddock, so they can share. The polar bears woodland enclosure is built for both of them,
Yeah.
so the polar bears
Yeah.
and the wolves, and
You can't see them.
go in there at separate times. Yeah, and they'll follow you around when checking the fences in the mornings. They'll always follow me around, which is really cool. But sometimes during the day they'll be in the middle of the paddock and then just start like howling, and you're just like, where on earth are they? But when you're up near red-breasted geese, they start howling. They don't sound like they're in the woodland. The sound gets all
No.
distorted.
Yeah.
Like, where on earth are they? Like, sounds like they're behind me.
Yeah.
Because
really weird.
when people come to visit and they view the Arctic wolves,
Yeah.
you're in a raised area and you're looking down across the open paddock. There's
Yeah.
a nice big pond in, and they're quite visible. The aspect that I think a lot of the general public don't see is they've got a huge woodland area to go
Yeah.
into, and it's a thick undergrowth.
Yeah.
And
They
when they
love
go through that, they disappear. And so that howling is really important to let each other know.
This is
Yeah.
it, yeah. I mean, and we've spoken
conversation.
about the ranks in here as well. So quite often, you know, we'll open up the woodlands to give them that more space,
Yeah.
because then the low rankers will either stay back in the paddock or
Yeah.
they'll go out in the woodlands, and they'll still communicate with each other through those
Yeah.
howls and everything as well.
Yeah,
So,
it's incredible. There's something incredible when they're in the woods as well, because you just get a glimpse, you get a flash,
Yeah.
a white
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're
from a
gone.
dart across a tree.
yeah.
And you just get an insight into the life in the wild of if they were tracking prey or if they were trying to assemble themselves in a certain area to round up prey and push them into each other. They're incredibly clever and so quick.
They
Yeah,
are
yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where the you know the alphas will lead from the front with that sort of thing as well. So you know they'll lead the forefront of that chase.
Yeah.
You know, the hunt. And once they start wearing off or they've got them in positions, then you know the subordinates will then start taking over a little bit. And
Yeah.
whilst the other ones catch their stamina up a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And they're constantly working together, and yeah, it's
There's
incredible.
such good
It's incredible.
endurance in the wolves is amazing.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because if they're in pursuit of something, they've got to be able to chase that for miles
For
and miles.
hours.
And slowly run it down.
It's not like you can
Yeah.
run it into a corner somewhere, because
No.
it's
It runs
Yeah.
and runs.
Yeah.
Because if you think something like a lion or a cheetah, fairly high speed,
Yeah, very quick.
it's like a bullet out of a gun.
Yeah, slows down very quickly though.
He slows down very quickly, but the wolf would just keep plodding away,
Yeah.
plodding away.
Wearing its prey out, wearing
Yeah.
it out, and then
Yeah.
it pounce.
Yeah,
It's very cool.
incredible.
It's quite scary.
And they're really well adapted to their environment because their coat, beautiful
Bright white.
camouflage. How does that work for them in the summer? Because where they live isn't all snow and ice in the summer, is it? It changes all the time.
No, not at all. I mean, so in the summertime, the wolves will go very much to more of a scavenging nature instead. So they'll start picking up on scraps from polar bears and bits and pieces as well. So and they're quite happy to pick up on your vegetation and stuff like that.
Yeah,
if they,
yeah.
if they
Just like
really
dogs.
need to. So, so they've got the resources there that will kind of see them through.
Yeah.
Until they can really pick up
Yeah.
what's favourable for them as well.
They're not
so.
they're not super ambush hunters though either, are they? So I don't think the colouring really, it does obviously affect them during the summer because you need that kind of initial head start. But where their endurance is so good, they'll always outrun their prey.
Yeah.
So even if they do start chasing something, they'll always outrun it if they get it right.
Yeah, I think they're so impressive. And unlike a lot of the predators we have here, you actually go in with the wolves.
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
So you really smile
Yeah.
about that, don't
I
you?
love it. We love it, don't we? Every time
Oh,
we go
very
in there,
much,
we're
yeah.
like, this is so cool.
Well, it's quite a privilege, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when you do go in, there's all of a sudden you go, oh, there is no fence.
No, they're there.
They're there.
Yeah.
So how do you approach that? What's the form to enter into their environment?
So I think a lot of it is down to how confident you are.
Yeah, they pick up
if,
on it.
If you show that you're got an ounce of regret about walking in that paddock, they're going to pick up on that.
Yeah.
Really?
Especially the lower ranking.
Yeah, so
or
they're
the mid ranking ones.
They're a lot
very
more
much-
confident to come up to you, aren't they? So
Why is that? They want to prove themselves?
Yeah, it's their job to find food.
Yeah, and they're nosy.
Yeah.
Like particularly Nev, he's a pain in the
Nev and
bum.
Rocco.
Why is Nev a pain in the bum? And Nev's named
'Cause
after
he's a confident boy.
Harry Potter.
Yes, yeah. So the whole group is pretty much named after Harry Potter and
Oh, Star Wars.
Star
and-
Wars.
Star Wars,
yeah,
brilliant.
so,
great,
yeah.
great crossover.
Yeah, you know that film, yeah.
Yeah.
So Nev, he's young, he's cocky, he wants to come up and have a sniff at you, see what
Yeah.
you're doing and stuff. So,
So you've got to be prepared. You've got to be confident. You've
Yeah.
got to walk in, show
Yeah.
yourself that I'm not worried.
yeah,
The equipment you take to protect yourself. What's the equipment? What kind of equipment?
Magic broom handle.
You take broom handles in.
that's it. Yeah,
Is that the Harry Potter you can fly off on them?
yeah, that's it. So
It's more that it's just like an extension of our arm. So
Yeah.
so if we really
That's-
need to put
that's
it in
our
front of
safe
us
space, basically.
and be
yeah.
like, this
yeah.
is my space. Don't come any closer.
And the thing is, they
Yeah.
see you as provider of food, but not food itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're well fed and catered for, so
Yeah.
they're not starving hungry. They're going to take you down. But so it's understanding your environment, understanding
Yeah.
the animals you're working
Yeah,
with.
it's also
Really-
teaching them who we are, what we're
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
as well. So when we first got the wolves, for example, I made it a rule that at no circumstance do we carry the food into their paddock.
right.
So we lock them out of a certain area of the paddock, we put the food in another area of the paddock, and then they can have access afterwards.
Okay.
The reason for that is because I don't want them to associate us walking in the paddock with food.
Right.
So we're now we're at the stage we can do that because
Yep.
they know who we are, they know we're not carrying food 24/7, if that
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
So,
yeah. They don't see you as a resource coming in.
exactly it.
and we can
yeah,
read their
yeah,
behaviour as well. If they start circling us,
Yeah.
like smaller circles than just running around and being excited,
Yeah.
we know what they're doing
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'll just leave.
They're trying to close you in, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we always work in pairs as well.
Yeah.
So there's a safety aspect, there's a backup, always on radio. That we
Yeah.
can call in if we need to. But and I think it's just knowing your animals
Yeah.
Yeah.
more than anything else. So again, I mean, when we first got the wolves, a great example was so one of the other guys, he went to tell off Nev for getting too close to him. But it was like Nev was only a young pup at that time.
Nev's mum came over.
Yeah, so if you tell that pup off, just remember you're gonna have the pack react to that. So
Yeah.
it's you
'Cause
got
they're all
to
a
keep
team,
in mind.
aren't
so,
they? They're
yeah,
all a
They're a
so,
team.
so you got to just keep your wits about you,
Yeah.
basically.
And everyone
yeah.
knows how clever their dog is at home.
Yeah.
And the personality of that dog and how clever their dog is or sneaky their dog
Yeah.
is. That's so true for the wolves as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
They know exactly how to play you or
Yeah.
lull you into a false sense of security.
Yeah.
yeah.
But they're pretty respectful of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think they're more nervous.
They're more
of
timid of us
than we are with
yeah.
them.
Yeah, and also I suppose
Yeah.
that intelligence also lends itself to being trained
Mm.
really well. So are they easy animals to work with or are they?
Do you know what?
If we had a smaller number, yes.
If I had a smaller number, yes. I'm just since I've been here anyway. I'm just trying to build their confidence around us. I think because
Yeah.
where they came from, they had a smaller enclosure. They were a lot more confident with people, and because people could get closer, like just general public could get closer to them. Now, obviously, our enclosure is quite far from the path, so they don't really come into contact with people. They see us they
becoming more
see
wild.
us. They've become feral.
They become more,
They're feral.
They're turning back to nature. You
Exactly.
see.
So,
You hate
which
that.
isn't good for me.
You hate that. I quite like that.
I do.
Because you start seeing different behaviours coming out.
I like that. I like seeing that different
The
side
wildness
of them.
in them. The thing is as well that you talked about their enclosure being back from the main path, where they came from previously. You could get very close to their enclosure. There's a reason we do that because we're one of only 2 places in the country that you can actually bring your
dog friendly
to come and see the animals in the wildlife park.
Yeah.
And they have to be set back because we don't want to risk any contamination from
there's
dogs
disease
to
control,
the wolves.
but it's also
Don't wanna wind them up.
antagonate.
And if a dog comes in,
it's
it's a could be
Yeah.
prey or it could be for them,
Competition.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much.
But it
and
is
then
quite
it's
interesting.
going to upset our dynamics of the group.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
So you
it's-
set them back, but
it's good for the wolves, and
Yeah.
I mean we love seeing dogs
Yeah.
every day, so we love
yeah.
being a dog.
I love seeing a
park.
dog seeing a wolf, and it suddenly
Yeah.
goes, "Oh my lord,
That is scary.
what is that?" Because actually, isn't it amazing how far we've bred the dog from the wolf?
It's quite crazy, isn't it, when you look at them and then look at people's French bulldogs and stuff that come
Yeah.
around the park, and it's like, wow.
And you might see a big tufty dog, one of those big breeds,
Yeah.
but you put up against one of those wolves and there's no competition.
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, it's nice that we can be a dog friendly park.
Yeah.
And it's nice that the wolves have gone a bit just wild.
Yeah.
But they're slowly getting more confident, I think, around us.
Yeah.
I can hand feed 3 of them or 4 of them and nearly 2 more. So that's 6 out of the 10 that I can
Get close.
I think
get close to.
One of the key aspects with such a large group is recall training. So
Yes.
it's making sure we can,
Recall them.
you know, if we wanted them out of the wolves suddenly, out of the woods suddenly, we can do that.
So recall the idea, just like you would your dog.
Yeah.
They're off, they go into the woods and disappear at 6 acres or whatever.
Yeah.
To be able to call them back, they come when they're called.
And that's
is
fine
really
with
important.
that's fine with 1 or 2 dogs at home, but try that with
Yeah.
10 to 15
And
wolves.
there's a
It's,
reason we need to do that, isn't there? Because say there's a storm coming, we
Yeah.
get advance of like a couple of days warning. You call them out the woods. You
They
can then
need to.
close the woodland off. It's a safety aspect.
yeah.
Their environment is incredible. The habitat that you guys have created is dynamic. It's everything they need. Their diets. So obviously they can hunt for stuff in the woods. They can chase squirrels, and if there's pheasants in there, or they can dig for things. But you have to provide a daily diet. What is their diet made up of?
So one of the best, I mean, you and me are, on the same page with this, aren't we? But I love working with wolves with their diets because
Variety.
it's so varied, and you can do pretty much whatever you want with them.
Yeah.
And I know people listening to this are going to think it's harsh, but with wolves you can skip days feeding them.
Yeah. Well, they're gorge feeders,
they
aren't
do.
they? They'll
feed
eat
fast.
lots and lots and lots.
Feed
Yeah.
them fast.
Exactly
It's
that,
so much
yeah.
better for that. That's what their
Yeah.
body's made to do. It's what their digestive system
So
is
I mean,
meant
I
to
think
do.
what are they on, about 100 kilos at the minute, aren't they?
Yes.
So
100 kilo allowance a week.
yeah. So we can,
And-
if we wanted to, we can give all of that 100 kilos on
At
Monday, the first day of the week, and then for the 6 other days of the week, they get absolutely
They get
nothing.
nothing.
Just like
So-
they would in the wild.
Yeah.
So if the pack was to take down a large animal, like a reindeer, for example, they'd feast on it, just like lions in the Serengeti would. Everyone feasts, and then
Yeah.
it's all about sleeping it
They
off,
just lounge off.
digesting, and until...
Then it's on again.
Because you can't, in that environment, eat every day because you haven't got the energy to chase these things down all the time.
And prey's quite scarce. They probably would
Yeah.
come across things that they could catch and eat every day. They'd hunt smaller mammals as well, like Arctic hares and Arctic foxes and stuff like that.
It's good for their digestive system as well
Yeah.
because these large carnivores they can't cope with the bones, the fur. They can't cope with feeding on that every single day.
No. day.
It will just clog them up.
Yeah.
So
in terms of that, a mixture of small prey, big prey in the wild, eating intermittently, and intermittent fasting is a real trend now for humans. So that thing you're trying to follow.
Yeah.
So you copy that with it could be chopped up meat, or it could be a whole carcass.
Yeah, so we get meat deliveries in every couple of weeks. That's like big beef legs, rib cages, and things like that. So we can hang that up in the paddock. We can make it really difficult for them to get, so that it takes them longer to eat. If I chain the food up, for example, the lower ranking ones get a chance to eat it, because the higher ranking ones can't just drag it to the den, but the
Right.
low ranking ones aren't allowed. So the mid ranks in the pack, that it's their job to go and get the food. So they'll get the food, they'll rip bits off, they'll take it back to the den, and they'll keep going back and forth to this food.
Yeah.
So they're always kept busy, so it really reduces the tension in the pack. But
Yeah.
also, we can give them whole carcasses. So we're really lucky how we're still a working farm.
Yeah.
So all of our livestock, for example, that makes the food that people can come and enjoy in the restaurant.
So if we have I don't know, like a lamb carcass that we
Yeah.
have that would be Sunday roast in the restaurant,
Yeah.
it might not go to Sunday roast
It
in
might
the
be
restaurant.
Sunday roast for our wolves.
Come
It'll
to
be
our
Sunday
wolves.
roast for the wolves. So you'll get
Exactly.
a whole animal,
Yeah.
and that mimics nature then,
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
it?
amazing, and it's so good for them. All the organs they'll go
Yeah.
for first. They'll go through the stomach, and they'll go in for the most nutritious part, which is the organs, and then they'll just work their way through it.
Yeah.
And they'll go away from it. They'll come back to it, and it does mimic the.
Well, that's really
wild.
interesting, because when we moved the wolves, we had the opportunity to get up close and do all the health checks on
Yeah.
them. And one thing that our vets said, examining the wolves, and we have our vet on site 3 times a week. He also deals with domestic pets and
Yeah.
stuff. He said that the healthy teeth on these animals are incredible. He said, I look at these wolves' teeth and they're pristine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I look at dogs' teeth
They're rubbish.
and compared, even much younger dogs, their teeth are terrible.
Yeah.
And of course, we're feeding tin food, biscuits,
Kibble.
and these guys are chewing bones,
Whole
and they've got
prey.
no plaque on their teeth, and it's just incredible. So that naturalistic diet is really important for their health. Because
Yeah.
if you just mashed it all up on a plate for them all, it's not giving them what they've
Everything
evolved
they
to do,
need.
is it?
No, it's the hair, the feathers when we give them chicken and stuff.
And their
the little
digestive tract is
bones.
able to deal with that, so they can
Yeah.
digest
Yeah.
bones and
Yeah, very much.
Not loads of it, like we said,
No.
because it clogs them up, but like small amounts of it will clear
Yeah.
their stomach out.
Yeah.
And it's good exfoliation for their
Yeah,
stomach, should we say.
I think it's fascinating, and we've managed to replicate a lot of that, and they've settled in so well.
Yeah.
So much so that they had a set of cubs, didn't they?
4 pups.
Yeah. So when were these guys born? So these pups were born in, was it 2024?
Yeah.
Yeah.
May time,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So we had 3 girls and then 1 boy.
Right.
And they were a pain.
They were the
Well,
bane of your life, weren't they?
It's
They were
just
a
like,
pain.
but it's like any sort of young animal, and,
Yeah.
and like pups, you would look really cute.
Oh, they
and
were
when
lovely.
and when you think of puppies, everyone likes a puppy.
They were so cute.
but they're naughty.
Yeah.
But it was just
Within the first week of them coming out, we had one
One
that
got
got
stuck
caught
in
up in
the
the
electric.
electric. It was
but it was fine because I had to go rescue it.
Right.
So I got a little,
Did you
a
little
little,
cuddle?
little cuddle of it.
But again, it's a wolf. It's not a.
No,
it's-
but it was very terrible. It was a bit,
Oh.
but it was, yeah, I mean, it recovered very, very quickly, don't get me wrong.
But, yeah, I mean, going back to the training aspect beforehand, like
They were just, so the pack is recall trained.
Yep.
The 10 we've got now are recall trained. I blow my whistle 3 times and they come running and I give them some food. These puppies, I could not get them off of
They
that.
just wouldn't do anything.
No, well,
their
was
nature
a-
is to hunker down and hide.
Yeah.
It was a pain
So,
for us,
yeah.
but watching them, it's their natural behaviour. So you
So,
can't be mad
there
at
was
them.
there were several nights of the year when we had to get them out of the woods, and the puppies were like,
Nope.
nope. So we had to get all our staff in there to, do a
find
line,
them.
walking down, and then they would run past us.
Wow.
It was,
And of course, we've got to manage numbers, and in the wild, there'd be natural wastage. So the older ones would die.
Yeah.
You'd have some that would break off and form new packs
Yeah.
or join a pack and all that kind of stuff. So we've got to replicate that.
Yeah.
And they've got a new home now. They're starting
Yeah.
a little mini
They're at
pack.
Woodside.
Yeah.
So where are they gone?
Woodside.
So
in
Woodside,
Lincoln.
a great organisation, and it's another demonstration of how we all work together
Yeah.
to manage animals in captivity.
Definitely.
So it's lovely to think they're starting their own little pack.
Yeah, they've got a little family together.
Yeah, and they've gone together, which is nice.
Yes, and
Yeah.
plus they're out your hair.
Oh, thank God.
Until next time.
Until next time. Like I said, it is breeding season right now, so I'm hoping it's not successful. They are being very flirty at the minute.
You never know.
so-
You never know. Right, are you ready for your wolf questions?
Yeah.
Okay, hit us.
Okay. So first one, and this is from Kathleen. How much food do Arctic wolves eat?
like we said, a lot.
Yeah. So
100 kilos.
we base ours on a group of 10 at the minute. They're on 100 kilos a week.
Okay.
Basically.
100 kilos a week.
And that's various foods.
Yeah.
Whether that's red meat to poultry.
Yeah, but we include the bone weight in that. So if we feed them big legs throughout the week, it'll be less meat.
Yeah.
But if we feed them like more ribby bits or fattier bits, then it will be more meat. Do you know what I mean?
And it's interesting that the way you feed, so if you're putting whole carcass out there, how that then has attracted all the other predators in. So
the red kites.
The red kites and
Amazing.
the buzzards have come in, and the rooks,
Yeah.
the raven, the crows, the magpies.
Yeah.
They all want the bit, and the seagulls, of course.
Yeah.
Lots of those.
Yeah.
So it supports a whole community.
Yeah.
Which I think is wonderful to watch.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Okay, so Henry wants to know, how do the keepers go in at the same time with wolves being predators? I think we discussed quite a lot of that, but it's confidence and protection and...
Yeah, and I think it's understanding your animals.
Yeah.
A lot of it, I think,
Good
is,
relationship.
Yeah.
And the animals know you. If a new ranger's going in, do you have to get other rangers?
We have to
Yeah,
go.
so what we do we go in pairs, and then if we're training somebody new up in that environment, then what we do is we go in pairs with the trainee as the extra person. So there's 3 people present. So there's 2 confident with the wolves and there's the person, because what the wolves will do is they'll sense that is new blood, and they will want to investigate.
Yeah,
I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
and maybe just test you to say,
They're testing.
let's see what you're made of.
Yeah.
Who's the most dominant and who is the least? And that's from Megan.
Fenra is the alpha male. Poppy is the alpha female. So they're the ones that are allowed to breed. The lowest ranking one is Anya. She's the low ranking female. There's no reason for it. You have to have a low ranking one.
She's the bottom of the pile.
She's the bottom of the pile, unfortunately. But I mean, she's got her own little area that she likes to take herself off in. She likes to sit under the tree, but
she's not always alone.
No,
though, is she?
She moves sometimes with the pack, but we always make sure that there's enough food for her.
Yeah, and she's careful. And that's how the pack works, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just how it would
and
be
they
in
have
the
their
wild.
own little cliques within a pack as well.
They do,
Yeah.
and it's sometimes not nice to see, but unfortunately there has to be a bottom ranking.
Yeah.
If we took her out, it would be someone else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we just wanted her welfare. And
Probably
she's
me.
Fine.
If I was in the pack.
Probably be one of us.
Probably pack, I'd be at the bottom. How often do the wolves rotate in the woodlands with the bears? That's an interesting one. That's from Michael.
There isn't really a set schedule for this, is there? We very much rely on their behaviour.
Yeah.
So, the bears will get agitated at points where they want to get in the woods, so we allow them to go in the woods, and then, and then we'll do the same for the wolves as well. So if we need a period where we need to give the wolves more space, then we'll do that.
Yeah.
But we very much have to keep an eye on the weather, because if for whatever reason our recall fails with our wolves, we have to make sure that we don't have to get them out within the next week or so.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of work involved with that. And it's quite nice to have it sporadic and not having a routine.
Because then they don't expect it.
Exactly. Yeah. And with such intelligent animals, with all predators, that idea of going...
The worst thing you can do is a routine.
As a routine, because they suddenly go, right, same old. But actually, it's...
Keeps it exciting.
Haven't been in the wood for a week. And then you go in and go, wow, it's incredible. Things have changed.
Yeah.
All these bluebells started to come up, or all those kind of. So I think that's quite good. Yeah. Right. Ruby wants to know: are there variations of colours in their coats, or are they always white?
No, they're always white. Always. They do have a summer coat and a winter coat, though.
Sometimes brown.
What?
Sometimes brown, depends.
Sometimes brown, depending on if they've had a roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. In the summer, their coat actually is quite a lot shorter. I don't think we really notice it that much until you see pictures of summer versus winter. At the minute, they're so fluffy.
Yeah.
Really?
And you'll probably remember their colour when they first came to us.
Yeah, they were brownish, weren't they? Because of
almost an orange, weren't they?
The soil they're coming from. And as soon as they had the swim, it's like they'd been in the washing machine.
Yeah.
They look incredible. Now, Sean wants to know, what does it mean when they howl?
Oh, it can mean
Everything.
anything and everything.
Everything.
It's just gonna be a communication from them being in the paddock to the woodlands. It can be a signal to hunt. It can be
help.
Help. And
it can literally mean it's just them
it
talking.
can also be weather based. I mean, if you notice, in a nice misty morning, they are howling.
Yeah.
And,
so is it a call to arms, a reassurance kind of thing?
It's just a conversation.
Yeah.
They just love to talk to each
and
other.
it is it's incredible. If you've never heard it, if you're lucky enough to be down here and hear the wolves howling,
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
And I've heard you join in their conversations.
I have a little. Do you have a howl?
I haven't had a howl actually. No.
I have a little.
I
howl.
try. It's really hard not to. I try not to because
You got to clear your throat before you do
They say
it.
you're not meant to howl at wolves.
No, but if you.
And then I want them to like me. so
Exactly, but you got to clear. If you start off bad, you got to. Yeah.
some of them aren't very good actually.
Do you practice in
Some
front
of
of the mirror?
I think we should do
I
one
mean the
now, mate.
wolves. I'm not doing it. I'd be really embarrassed myself, I think. But some of them are really pitchy. Some of them are really rubbish. Some of them need to practice their singing.
Who's the one that she's almost breaking her voice when she does
Eyebrows. Bella.
Bella, is it? Yeah.
She's a bad howler.
She's really bad.
Now, Jamie wants to know, how do they differ from other wolf species? That's an interesting one.
Wow. So there's, I mean, you got, this is a difficult one, really.
Yeah.
I mean, a very long-winded one, but I mean, you've got three mainstay sections of wolves. So you've got a grey wolf, a red wolf, and Eastern European wolf. So the Arctic wolves fall under the category of the grey wolves, which is probably the most diverse category that you have. And then, but you're talking all the way down to your dingoes and your jackals and everything.
Right. They vary, and like the wolves that we know of, like if you think of grey wolves, their distribution's huge.
Massive.
So the variation within just the grey wolf
It's huge.
is huge.
Yeah, so you've
Arctics are the stumpiest, I think, aren't they?
And then you've got the timbers, which are probably the more, sort of long-legged.
So I'm right in thinking that Arctic wolves, one, the colour,
Yeah.
but two, their stature, they're smaller.
They're smaller, they're stumpier, they're beefier.
Yeah.
To survive the colder climates, really. They're just well adapted for their area.
And you know how important wolves are to the environment.
Yeah.
You know, they're so important. We used to think it was a competition, but we've seen so many times now that wolf reintroductions across Europe. They flourished in Italy.
Yeah.
You're finding wolves in Germany.
We need it here.
That's really and that's really helped the ecology.
It's been talked about in Scotland for years, but it's just never got it over the line.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like,
and when they were released in Yellowstone, I think it was, changed the ecology overnight, and it's now one of the highest populations in the world, which is
Yellowstone wolves.
incredible. Now, we've got to round these questions up here then. So, do you ever swim in their lake? No,
do we?
No, hang on. No,
We do not.
Do you ever swim in the lake?
I don't think they'd like that very much.
I think James has. And his Speedos. It'd be a quick swim though, wouldn't it? No, do they ever swim in their lake?
I wouldn't say they swim. They paddle, I think, more than anything
they drink
else,
out of their lake.
Yeah.
They've got water drinkers,
Well,
but they
I would
always
say
drink from their
I've
lake.
seen them swimming when they first got here.
Have you?
Yes,
And I
they
watched
did.
them swim across.
Really?
And I've got footage of them swimming.
Yeah, they did. They were very hot after their long journeys, and
And they went in, and it was a pleasure to watch.
That's very cool.
But
I've never seen it.
That is pretty much the only time I've seen them in, though.
Yeah.
When it was frozen, I've seen them walk over it. I've seen that. I saw Luna walk over it, and I was like, "Oh, she's a bit old to be doing this."
Yeah, I think what they did enjoy doing was pull out all the plants that I planted around the pond. Great time and expense choosing lots of different species of plants to put in, and they just pulled them out one after the other.
Yeah.
Lovely
Typical.
animals. But anyway, there we go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's another great episode of Talking Wild, and hopefully I will see you soon for another one. All right, good one, guys.